Okay, so imagine for a second that you stumble across this wildly intimidating, highly advanced calculus paper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Like the kind that just makes your brain hurt looking at it.
exactly.
Yeah.
You are looking at pages of quantum variables, integrals, and just completely impenetrable category theory.
Right.
But then you look at the author line, and you notice the person writing this isn't just, some university professor.
No, not at all.
They're actually the CEO of a video game studio.
Which is such a wild pivot.
It really is.
Mhm.
And the math itself, it appears to be calculating the exact mechanism for transferring your consciousness into like a multiversal avatar.
Yeah, casual, right. Just everyday math.
Just everyday stuff. So, okay, let's unpack this because what we have for you on today's deep dive is an absolute mind bender.
Oh, 100%.
So today is April 17th, 2026, and a brand new publication dropped literally just hours ago.
Fresh off the digital presses.
Yep. It's titled The Unified Framework Structured Multiversal Interactions. And it was published in something called Bibebibebibe Magazine.
Which, I mean, that is just a brilliant Trojan horse of a document.
Right.
If you're just scrolling past it online, it perfectly mimics the aesthetic of this dense, high-level physics dissertation.
Oh, it really does.
You see the Greek letters, the rigid academic formatting, those really complex diagrams mapping out abstract structures.
Yeah, it looks totally legit.
It is entirely designed to make you think you've stumbled into the deep archives of, like, a theoretical physics institute.
And you absolutely do think that, right up until you actually read the fine print.
Yeah, the fine print is where it gets you.
Because you start to see that this incredibly formal framework is tied to an entity called the Cosmic University of Echo Rift Studies, NIAX.
Which, I mean, what a name.
Right. And they aren't just offering degrees. They're offering, quote, sovereign diagnostics alongside cinematic universes and interactive media.
It's just such a bizarre mix of things.
It really is. So our mission today is to bridge that massive gap for you. We're going to decode how this intense academic-sounding mathematical formalism connects to the underlying, well, what they call a mythic broadcast that its creators are trying to deliver.
Yeah, because we really want to break down what this framework argues about the nature of consciousness, physical reality, and what they term multiversal identity.
Right. And to even begin untangling those concepts, we have to look at the architects who built this maze in the first place.
Oh, for sure. The nature of what they're trying to broadcast to the world completely dictates this bizarre hybrid format they've chosen.
Exactly. So let's look at those creators. The text introduces us to Dr. Melvin Sewell, M.Sc, Ph.D.
Sounds very official.
Very official. He's listed as the academic dean and the diagnostic architect of this cosmic university.
Right.
But crucially, he is also listed as the CEO of a media network that includes TrueFlow Games and Bibebibe Studio.
So there's the video game connection.
Yep, there it is. And alongside him, the framework introduces this really fascinating figure in a section called Chapter 1 Origin.
Oh, this part is wild.
It is. We meet a character, or, perhaps an entirely new persona, named Saiku Venga.
Right.
And the text describes Saiku as emerging from a rift, quote, born between slip flow and counterflow, marked by SH1 resonance.
Okay, we really need to translate that terminology because it sets the stakes for everything that follows.
Please do, because it sounds like sci-fi to me.
Well, it is, but it's grounded in real concepts. So in physics, resonance occurs when one object vibrates at the exact same natural frequency as another.
Okay.
So by stating Saiku has SH1 resonance, the authors are implying this entity is vibrating on a completely different existential frequency than the rest of us.
Oh, wow. So they're, like, tuned into a different channel of reality.
Exactly. And being born in the slip flow suggests existing outside the normal, predictable current of our everyday lives.
Okay, that is incredibly evocative. But I do have to push back here a bit. Or at least I want to ask the question that any listener would probably be shouting at their audio player right now.
Fair enough. Go for it.
With titles like Cosmic University and terms like slip flow, how much of this are we supposed to take as literal testable science? And how much is this just an elaborate art project?
Like a funhouse mirror to our own society.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the creators actually provide a map to navigate that exact tension.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Hidden within the materials is a bolded section called the Sovereign Diagnostic Disclaimer.
Right, I saw that.
They go out of their way to explicitly state that this site, the films, the magazine, none of it is affiliated with any government, political party, intelligence agency, or activist group.
Okay, so they want to be crystal clear that nobody should read this as like a literal political manifesto.
Or some kind of fringe conspiracy document, yeah.
Right, they're impartial.
Exactly, because they're building something entirely different. The disclaimer explains that these materials are authored as mythic infrastructure.
Mythic infrastructure.
Yeah. They call it a cinematic indictment and a sovereign broadcast. Their goal, according to the text, is to expose ritualized containment, actor convergence, and systemic erosion.
Okay, I want to pause on ritualized containment.
It's a great phrase.
It really is, because as abstract as that sounds, it feels highly relevant to anyone walking around with a smartphone today.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, think about how we consume information. We wake up, we doom scroll the exact same 3 apps.
Yep, every morning.
We get fed the exact same algorithmic outrage, and we just repeat it the next day.
Over and over.
That is ritualized containment. We are trapped in these invisible loops,
Yeah.
and this framework is attempting to calculate a way out.
That is a perfect application of the concept. The creators are using the highly structured, almost impenetrable language of advanced mathematics as a narrative device.
To wake us up from that doom-scrolling loop.
Exactly. They are constructing a mythic broadcast. It is an art project, undoubtedly, but it demands to be interacted with as if it were literal science.
So it functions as a diagnostic tool.
Yes, exactly.
Which forces you, as the listener, to step entirely outside of your normal, heavily filtered information diet.
Right, because you can't just passively consume calculus.
No. By forcing you to grapple with a multiversal equation, you have to view our societal structures from this completely alien perspective.
They actually refer to these mathematical structures as interpretations and collapse protocols.
Collapse protocols.
Yeah. They are lenses to help you recognize how contained or eroded your own autonomy, your sovereignty might be in the physical world.
Which makes sense. If this team is diagnosing our current reality as broken or contained, they can't just point out the flaws, right?
Right, they have to provide an alternative.
They have to show us what a functioning reality actually looks like. And to do that, they don't write a poem or a standard essay.
No, they go way harder than that.
They map it out using the mechanics of category theory.
Right, and category theory is a very real, highly abstract branch of advanced mathematics.
Let's talk about that because it's pretty dense.
It is. It deals with abstract structures and the specific relationships or mappings between them. You can basically think of it as the mathematics of mathematics.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it zooms out to look at the overarching patterns that govern entirely different systems.
And they're taking this very real, very rigorous math and using it to map out their fictional mythic universe.
Yes. The framework lists what it calls core objects.
Which are the fundamental building blocks of their multiverse.
Exactly. So we have consciousness states labeled as the variable C,
Okay.
biological agents labeled as B mythic constructs, which is M physical substrates, P, and quantum gate systems, Q.
Just looking at that list of variables, you really see the deliberate blending of the literal and the conceptual.
Oh, totally.
Like biological agents and physical substrates, things grounded in our tangible reality, they just sit right alongside mythic constructs and consciousness states.
As complete equals in the equation.
Exactly. Now, I spent a lot of time looking at these core objects, and considering Dr. Sewell's background in video games, I couldn't help but map this onto the architecture of a massive multiversal simulation.
Oh, I like where this is going.
Right. So in this analogy, the biological agents, the B variable, those are the avatars in the game.
Okay, yeah.
They are the physical bodies running around the map.
Makes sense.
Then the physical substrates, P, represent the hardware. The servers, the silicon, the fiber optic cables actually running this simulation.
Right, the infrastructure.
And the consciousness states, C, those are the players, the actual sentient drivers holding the controllers.
See, that is a brilliant way to conceptualize the board. It perfectly sets up the next layer of their mathematics, which they call the morphisms.
Morphism.
Yeah. In category theory, a morphism is the relationship or the transformation from one object to another.
It's the arrow connecting the dots.
Exactly. And the framework introduces morphisms like resonance, which is R identity, I mythic, M quantum Q, and sovereignty S.
Okay, so let's apply that back to the video game metaphor. How do these arrows actually connect the avatars to the players?
They define this through what they call a functorial structure.
Right.
Two specific connections are really vital here. First, we have S mapping B to C.
So sovereignty mapping biological agents to consciousness.
Yes. In their language, sovereignty is the morphism that links biological agents to consciousness states.
Wait, so if C is the player and B is the avatar, then the morphism sovereignty is like the ping rate.
Oh, that's good.
It's the strength of the Wi-Fi connection between you and the game.
Yes.
If your sovereignty variable drops, your avatar starts lagging. It stops responding to your command and starts getting pushed around by the game's environment or the NPCs.
Exactly. Sovereignty isn't just a vague philosophical concept of freedom here.
Right.
It is the literal mathematical tether keeping you in control of your biology.
That metaphor makes the stakes incredibly clear. Like if your ping rate drops, you lose agency.
You do. And the second crucial connection in their structure is Q, mapping P to C.
So Q is quantum.
Yeah, quantum gate systems link the physical substrates directly to the consciousness states.
Oh, wow. So that is the hardware communicating directly with the player, bypassing the avatar entirely.
Exactly. The servers are speaking directly to the person holding the controller.
That is wild.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this framework is making a really profound argument about the nature of existence.
How so?
It argues mathematically that consciousness is not just an accidental byproduct of biology.
Right, it's not just a hallucination created by neurons firing in a physical brain.
Exactly.
Because if it were just biology, consciousness would simply be a subset of the biological agent.
It would sit inside the B variable.
Right. But in this framework, they are completely separate core objects on the board.
Yes. In this universe, consciousness acts as the primary bridge. It connects the physical reality, the substrates, and the biology to the higher-level mythic constructs aided by these quantum gate systems. The universe they're describing is a structured, constant interaction between the physical and the mythic, and consciousness is the engine making it happen.
Okay, so here is where it gets really interesting.
Even more interesting.
Oh, yeah, because we have the individual pieces, right? We have the avatars, the hardware, the players, and the mathematical ping rates connecting them all.
Right.
But how do we calculate the state of the entire universe at any given moment?
The master formula.
Yes. The architects actually wrote a master formula. They created a unified equation that attempts to calculate this entire multiversal interaction all at once.
They call it the unified functional equation, denoted by the script letter F.
And I am looking at this unified functional equation in the source document right now, and honestly, my eyes are glazing over.
It is a lot.
It is a massive string of calculus. I see an integral sign, a bunch of Greek letters like lambda, mu, sigma, and tau.
Yep.
It literally looks like a final exam nightmare from college calculus.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to decipher this?
Well, it absolutely looks intimidating, and I think that visual impact is part of the design.
Sure.
But you don't need a degree in theoretical mathematics to read the story the equation is actually telling.
Okay.
Let's just look at the pieces we've already defined. Notice the dt at the very end of the bracket.
Yes, the derivative of time.
Right. That tells us this entire equation is an integral running over time.
Ah, okay.
It implies that this multiversal interaction isn't a static photograph. It isn't a painting on a wall. Reality is an active, ongoing process.
The simulation is constantly rendering.
Exactly. It's being calculated and updated every single second.
Okay, that makes sense. And looking inside the bracket, I recognize some of the variables we just talked about.
Let's hear them.
I see a sigma symbol multiplied by S of B.
Okay.
And based on the morphisms, S of B represents the function of sovereignty applied to the biological agents.
Right.
So it's calculating the ping rate of the avatars.
You got it. And right next to that, we have tau multiplied by Q of P, which represents the quantum effects applied to the physical substrate.
The hardware calculation.
Exactly.
Okay, so I understand the mechanics of it now, but it brings up a massive why.
Why do it this way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would this team choose to write a mythic broadcast, which is fundamentally a warning about systemic erosion and losing our autonomy, as a functional calculus equation?
Right. Why not write an essay?
Or a novel, or give a speech?
Well, it is a brilliant, totally subversive psychological choice.
Really?
Think about how we normally consume critiques of society or politics today.
We get defensive.
Exactly. We read an op-ed, we listen to a pundit, and our defenses immediately go up. We have intense emotional reactions. We retreat into our pre-existing ideological camps and prepare to argue.
We basically apply our own ritualized containment to the new information. We block it out.
Exactly. But when you write that exact same critique as a functional calculus equation, it completely short-circuits our usual emotional defenses.
Oh, that is so clever.
Right. You cannot get angry at a sigma variable.
No.
You cannot feel politically threatened by a tau. The format forces you to engage with the concepts of human sovereignty and multiversal identity as if they were literal, measurable, objective laws of physics.
It tricks the human brain into analyzing the system logically rather than emotionally,
Exactly. It bypasses the outrage algorithm.
which is an incredible mental exercise for you, the listener. Like, imagine for a moment if your own sense of sovereignty wasn't just a feeling you had on a good day.
Right.
Imagine it wasn't just this philosophical concept of self-ownership, but a literal mathematical variable in the universe.
A variable that could be calculated, tuned, or, if we look back at their warnings of systemic erosion, actively manipulated by outside forces.
Right. If your sovereignty is an equation, it means someone or some algorithm might be actively trying to alter your variables to induce lag.
Which is a terrifying but incredibly useful way to look at the world.
It really is.
Yeah.
But understanding the equation is one thing, deploying it into the world is another. If Dr. Sewell, Saiku Venga, and their team have defined the universe this way, how are they teaching it?
They aren't just publishing a single PDF on an obscure website and walking away.
Not at all. The final section of the framework outlines what they call the canonical interpretation.
Right.
And it reveals that this dense mathematical theory is being disseminated across a massive, multi-platform ecosystem.
They are building a full-blown canon.
They really are. They're infiltrating actual academic databases while simultaneously building cinematic universes.
Which is just such an ambitious scope.
It is. The text heavily references Zenodo publications.
And for those who don't know, Zenodo is a real-world, open-access repository for research data.
Right. It's heavily utilized by legitimate scientists and researchers globally.
It is.
And the bibliography this team lists on Zenodo is just wild.
Oh, the titles are amazing.
They have titles like Category Theoretic Formalization of Resonance Tuning and Multiversal Identity.
Very dry, very academic.
But then, sitting right next to that, we have the monster Ph.D. dissertation.
Which is just such a great title.
We have Quantum Gates for Consciousness Transfer and a paper titled Dark Matter as Misrecognized Scalar Reality.
They are deliberately blurring the lines between legitimate academic peer review and mythic world building.
Yes, they want the fiction to live in the exact same spaces as the reality.
And it extends beyond academia, too. The framework lists something called EchoRift XL.
Right, which is described as cinematic serialization.
So we have research papers and we have movies.
But there is a specific phrase tying all of this together that I want to throw over to you.
Okay, lay it on me.
Under the canonical interpretation section, it lists Bibebibibe Magazine, editorial calimit.
Ah, yes, calimit.
What exactly does the word calimit mean in this context? Because it sounds important.
It is very important. This raises a key question about how we mentally construct reality from disparate pieces of information. The term calimit is another concept pulled straight from category theory. To put it simply, a calimit is a mathematical way of taking a bunch of different, seemingly unrelated objects and gluing them together into a unified whole.
Gluing them together.
Right, ensuring that all their complex relationships are preserved.
Okay, so give me a real-world equivalent of that. How does a magazine act as mathematical glue?
Well, think of it like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
That have Iron Man movies, Thor movies, comic books, and television shows.
Right.
They are all separate, distinct objects. The calimit in that scenario is the concept of the Avengers.
Oh.
It is the overarching narrative structure that forces all of those separate, distinct stories to exist within the exact same shared reality.
I see.
So Bibebibibe Magazine is acting as the mathematical calimit for this cosmic university.
It's the glue.
It is the Avengers-level structure forcing the Zenodo academic papers, the True Flow video games, and the Echo Rift movies to operate under one unified physics engine.
So the magazine is basically compiling a new reality in real time.
Exactly. And that is the ultimate purpose of this multi-platform approach. This is what the authors mean by mythic infrastructure.
Right.
They are not simply telling a story for entertainment. They are constructing a robust alternative reality framework.
They build it so that we can step completely inside of it.
Yes, and look back out at our own real world through the window of their equations and critique our own society.
They are handing us the diagnostic tools to measure our own systemic erosion.
That's exactly it.
Wow. So what does this all mean for us? I mean, if we step back and look at the massive journey we just took through this document,
It's quite a trip.
it really is. We started with what appeared to be an eccentric, impenetrable physics paper published literally this morning.
Yep.
We decoded a literal calculus equation designed to measure the Wi-Fi connection between our physical bodies and our higher consciousness.
Which is still crazy to think about.
And we discovered that all of this is an elaborate Trojan horse mythic broadcast, meticulously designed to bypass our political outrage and test our own sovereign diagnostics.
The value of this specific kind of thinking is just immense.
It really is.
It trains us to approach complex, seemingly intractable societal issues, not through standard exhausting debate.
Right, no more doom scrolling.
Exactly, but by constructing an entirely new lens. By adopting a multiversal framework, we can bypass our own ingrained biases.
It asks us to look at the architecture of our daily lives and critically question who or what is writing the equations that govern our attention.
It is a phenomenal masterclass in shifting your perspective.
It really is. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a lingering thought pulled straight from the fringes of this framework's bibliography and its strange origin story.
Oh, going back to Saikuvenga emerging from the riff.
Exactly that. Psychovenga is described as being born between slip flow and counterflow.
Right.
And one of those wild papers listed on the Zenodo database argues that dark matter is actually misrecognized scalar reality.
That phrase just gives me chills.
It leaves you wondering. You know, the next time you look up at the night sky and think about the fact that roughly 85% of the mass in the universe is just dark matter.
An invisible, undetectable substance that somehow holds entire galaxies together.
Right. What if it isn't just empty space or dead mass at all? What if, as this framework suggests, we are just misrecognizing the mythic infrastructure that is right in front of us?
A misrecognized reality, quietly holding the entire simulation together while we just stare at the avatars.
This certainly makes you want to check your own ping rate.
It really does.
Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the absolute fringes of physics, multiversal sovereignty, and category theory. We will see you next time.